morning, sunny Santa Barbara. May gray and June gloom seem to have disappeared for the morning. Anyway, hope you're having a great morning. It's a great show with Gene just a few minutes ago. Lives on the Mesa. Anyway, I'm Mark McIntire, your host for today for Voices of Santa Barbara. And my guest today is going to be the newly elected GOP. That stands for Grand Old Party, for those of you who don't know. Because you live in Santa Barbara, you don't even know what GOP means. Mr. Gregory Gandrud, also the Chief Financial Officer, CEO, and CFO of Gandrud Financial. He just did my taxes. So we're going to talk about taxes today, spending today, and I just received a 2019 Congressional District Census sent to me by the Republican National Committee. And, the chairwoman wrote me a personal note saying that I have been selected to take this questionnaire. Her name is Rona McDaniel. Now, I've never met Rona, but she seems to know me. Anyway, so we're going to talk about that. But before I do, I have some breaking news. I have some breaking news right here on KZSB AM 1290, Santa Barbara's News Talk Radio. And the breaking news is that those of you who follow me on my TV show on TVSB here in Santa Barbara called Freedom Matters with Mark McIntire, you have probably heard about Professor Jason D. Hill at the university called DePaul University in Chicago. He is, he's a lot of things. He came to this country legally as a 20-year-old from the island of Jamaica. So he's of mixed ancestry, African and Asian and Polynesian. And so he came to this country legally. He didn't come here illegally. And he is a professor of philosophy. He bootstrapped himself to become a professor of philosophy. PhD from Purdue University, no slouchy place that, right? And he has been teaching for at least 2 decades and has published 4 books. I had him on my Freedom Matters show, and great success. He came to my attention because he advocated the public defunding of public education. That's right, folks. He advocates defunding public education. That's right, folks. I'll repeat it again. He advocates that we should take away all tax dollars from public education. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got that? So naturally, he got himself into a lot of trouble there. But most recently, he got himself into trouble by advocating, wait for it, that the state of Israel should annex the Palestinian landscape. That's right. You got that? That he's a staunch defender of the nation-state of Israel as being the bulwark of democracy in an otherwise undemocratic and fascist Muslim environment. Okay? You got that? So more recently, what happened, the breaking news is this. In about 2 hours... actually 4 hours. In 4 hours' time, the faculty council at DePaul University is going to put him on trial. That's right. A university, you got it. Right here in the old US of A. They're going to put a professor of philosophy on trial for writing an op-ed piece that maintains that the state of Israel should annex all of the Palestinian lands and absorb the Palestinians into the state of Israel. Many Palestinians are already citizens of Israel, by the way, so it's not a really radical idea. But no, the cultural Marxists. The cultural Marxists have risen up on this formerly Catholic university. DePaul University was originally a Vincentian, founded by the Vincentian Fathers, and they are dedicated to the work of Saint Vincent de Paul. You may have actually contributed some of your old clothing and your old dishes and tables and chairs to the Saint Vincent de Paul thrift shops. I know we have them in Boston, all over the place. I don't know if they're out here. But anyway, as I have said many times on this show and on my TV show, there are no more Catholic universities in America. That's right. I'll say it again. There are no more Catholic universities in the United States of America. No, because the Catholic universities, they've tried to become Protestant. And in trying to become Protestant, they have embraced identity politics, cultural Marxism. They even hire known atheists, famous atheists, to teach, wait for it, theology. What? How can an atheist teach theology? Oh, that's very simple. See, they destroy theology. There is no God. No, we have no need of a God. There is no objective reality, truth, goodness, or beauty. No, that's an old idea. We don't need any old ideas because now we're all liberal progressives. So in about 2 hours, poor Professor Jason Hill, my guest, former guest, and the author of a book called We Have Overcome. Oh, I should mention that. He wrote a book called We Have Overcome. And you know what the book is about? The book is about the fact that in the island of Jamaica, they don't believe in racism because they don't believe that there are any races. They actually happen to be correct. In biology, folks, there are no races. Let me repeat that. There are no races in human biology. Even the liberal progressive biologists will tell you that. Don't believe me. Go look it up. Go Google it. Ask the great God, Google, whether there are races in human biology. And you'll find that the answer is no. There are no races in human biology. Okay? So in the island of Jamaica, he says that the Jamaicans, the native Jamaicans, they laugh at America's obsession with race because there are no races. That's actually kind of funny. So anyway, but he's not on trial for his stance on racism or bigotry. He's actually on trial for his support of the nation-state of Israel. So in about, I would say 2.5 hours, we'll know what the vote is. I have texted him and told him that I'm sorry he's going through what I have gone through, which is he faces a condemnation. Oh, there's our guest today. Oh, Gregory Gandrud, the Mr. Treasurer of the California GOP. There's your coffee. There's your coffee right
Good
there.
Morning, Mark.
Well, good morning. Say hello to Richard Dugan, our engineer.
Hey, Richard. Good morning.
You've done this before, so.
Yes, I have.
I'm just going to wrap up segment 1 here. How many more minutes we got on segment 1 there? Richard, about 2. I knew you'd put up the 2 side. Anyway, so that Gregory has landed in the studio because he was delayed on the deplorable 101. Yes, which is absorbing ever more money, tax money and tax dollars. Gregory's going to talk about finances today, about how our taxes are spent and what we spend it on, and how it's, I'll let him do all that. In any case, I just want to finish up on poor Professor Hill here, who's on trial for having written an op-ed piece defending Israel. Oh, by the way, did I tell you that Professor Hill, in addition to being a legal immigrant to the United States from the island nation of Jamaica, he's also a very happily married homosexual. Yes, married to another man. Yeah, exactly. And he's a raging conservative and a raging Trump supporter. What? How can he be all of those things? How can he be a legal immigrant? And how can he be a happily married homosexual? And how can he be a Trump supporter all at the same time? Well, he doesn't live in Santa Barbara. That's the answer. He lives in Chicago. Okay? You got that? So anyway, we'll find out more about poor Professor Jason Hill. And by the way, Gregory, after the break, I just got this in the mail. This is a census I got from Rona McDaniel.
Yes.
Yeah, she thinks she knows me because she said, Mark.
Well, she's doing her best.
Yeah, she says, oh, hi, Jack. Jack just walked in. Jack is our studio dog. Oh, you're going to nudge my leg. Yeah, just nudge it. Okay, go away. Anyway, so we're going to talk about this census.
Great.
Because it has a lot of tax questions in here.
Sure.
I want to talk about that.
We could talk about that.
Anyway, so before, hello there, Les, how you doing? We get a lot of visitors. We have dogs visiting. We have general managers visiting. It's like Grand Central Station at KZSB. We're going to take our first break a little bit early, and so we can properly introduce our special guest today, Gregory Gandrud. I am Mark McIntire, your host on Voices of Santa Barbara. This is KZSB AM 1290. And welcome back to Voices of Santa Barbara. It's a very sunny day. And actually, really not a very, very nice day if you're on the 101 behind the trucks that are spraying some chemicals on the highway. Nobody seems to know what chemicals they're spending. In fact, they made my guest late, Gregory Gandrud, the newly elected.
I was stuck out there on the 101 bottleneck,
Yeah.
And the person who I actually blame the most for that is actually our dear Congressman Salud Carbajal. When Salud was chief of staff for Naomi Schwartz, before Salud was
is that what he did for a living? That's what he did?
Before he was county supervisor, he was chief of staff. He's never actually had a private sector job.
Has he actually had a job?
He's never had a private sector job ever in his life.
Well, then he's never had a job.
He's
never had a job.
Not somebody who really knows much about what real life is really about. Anyway, when he was chief of staff for Naomi, he made sure that our 101 widening dollars got sent up to Santa Maria, and that Highway 101 never got widened. It still has never been widened, and we're still sitting out there day after day in horrible, horrible traffic, brake dust, smog, wasted time, high blood pressure, just stuck out
Well,
there.
25 years ago when I got here and I suggested that they, I went to a cocktail party and for the mayor, and the mayor asked me what my opinion was on widening the Highway 101. It was Harriet Miller.
Sure.
And I said, gee, it should be widened. And the next day I find myself in stocks and little children throwing rotten eggs at me right in front of City Hall. They were throwing rotten tomatoes and eggs at me. And I never got invited back to the mayor's cocktail party. I never got invited to the country club. And, I've been ostracized. For 25 years, I've been in exile in my own town.
Yeah. Well, Salud was one of the ringleaders and has still been one of the ringleaders of that cabal that has sought to prevent Highway 1 from being
let's rename him. Let's rename him Salud Cabal.
Cabal, yes. Salud Cabal. Sure. But no, and they think that it's government.
Did he give you any reason? Did he give you any
Well,
reasons?
there's reasons. There's reasons. One of them is that government thinks that cars are bad, and that government's job is to force everybody out of their cars, and that we should be walking, biking, busing, or better yet, taking the train.
Right.
So as you know, they recently retimed one of the northbound trains so that it kind of fits a little bit better for commuters.
Right.
And they initially were figuring, there'd probably be at least 900 people a day that they could get off the freeway onto this train. So now that they've actually, they spent like 10, 12 years trying to get Amtrak to change the schedule, and now that the schedule fits what Salud wanted, they've got like 100 people a day riding the train.
Even during the closure of the 101, during the fire
during
and
the closure
flood?
of the 101, of course, that was different. There were hundreds of people.
But they refused
getting
to put more trains on. They had a perfect chance to capture market share because of that tragedy. I rode the train twice during those episodes. Right?
Yeah.
It was $44 one way. All right, what for 12 miles? I rode 12 miles for $44 one way. But they had the perfect chance to put more trains on and get people off the freeway. Did they do it? Oh, no.
No, that would require entrepreneurial insights.
That would require brains and rationality and logic and evidence.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, so those policies obviously have failed miserably.
So other than Salud saying, and his followers, his acolytes, saying the cars are bad, was there any other reason?
Well, they also
was there a snail?
They also thought that if you build it, they will come.
If
you want to keep Carpinteria and Santa Barbara small and charming,
don't want to become like Malibu, do we?
You don't want to build the freeway because then people
will
come.
use the freeway. Oh no! What would we do? People are building the freeway that they're using it. How horrible is that?
Yeah. So here we are, stuck. We passed the Measure D sales tax, 0.5% sales tax in 1988 because it was supposed to provide the funding to widen Highway 101.
Yeah.
And here we are, 31 years later, stuck in this horrible bottleneck. While Salud is in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we wanted to cover some of the other items. What happened with the gas tax? I never got the story about why the gas tax increase was passed here in the state of California.
Well, the legislature passed the gas tax increase, and along with increasing the tax on gasoline, they also drastically increased the cost of registering your vehicle. There are new
I noticed
fees
my
on-
registration went up this year.
Yeah. You know, it's always included a property tax, and then there were some additional county fees, plate fees, smog fees, weight fees. But now they have some enormous registration fees that are also somewhat tied to the value of your vehicle. So if you drive a more expensive vehicle, you pay a radically more expensive fee to register your car. And then, of course, every time you go to the gas pump, you're paying radically higher prices. And now, I think just put gas in my car last night. I think I paid $4.45 a gallon. You know, we're on our way to $5 a gallon for gasoline here in California. And it's much, much more expensive than other states, almost $2 a gallon more than the cheapest gas in the nation.
During that run-up, Greg, during the run-up for that vote, I noticed that California GOP actually, they climbed out from under their desks and under their beds where they've been hiding for years and years, and they actually opposed something.
Well, first of all, the legislature passed it,
Yeah.
and then there was a ballot measure to overturn.
Right.
Okay. So that was the Prop 6.
That's what I'm talking about,
So
Prop
that
6.
if people voted for Prop 6, that would overturn. Now, one of the problems we ran into was the dishonest
Wording.
Attorney General.
The wording. Yes.
Put wording that was very confusing to the voters, that made it very hard to understand what you actually were voting for. He basically made it look like if you were voting yes on Prop 6, you were voting to eliminate transportation funding. And it's like, no, it wasn't to eliminate transportation funding. It was to overturn the recent very large increase in the gas tax. So it was very confusing for people. In the end, Prop 6 lost, and the gas tax remained in place. And that is
How much
one
was
of the
the
reasons.
margin? What was the margin? You remember? I don't remember. But there was a big. There was a big.
I think it was an
campaign.
immediate 12-cent increase, and then it increases more over time. It's a repetitive increase where it goes up and up and up and
There's
up.
that word
And
again,
then
progressive.
couple that with the carbon tax. You know, we have this
Yes.
carbon trading in California. We
Yes.
have sales tax on gasoline.
Yes,
we
yes.
have federal tax on gasoline. We have
Yes,
taxes upon taxes
Yes.
upon taxes.
We have
You know,
taxes upon
here in
taxes.
California,
Our taxes are taxed.
They tax you when you earn it. They tax you when you spend it.
And when you
they
die.
tax you when you have property.
When you're dead.
Yeah, there actually is a new proposal by one of the Democrat members of the legislature to have a new California death tax.
Yes.
Yeah.
They didn't like the old one, did they? No, it was too low. It's expensive to die here in California. It's really
Everything's
expensive.
very
It's
expensive.
very
You know, we
expensive,
pay enormously high
If you're
costs.
getting ready to die out there, please see your financial advisor. Greg
Well, no, you
Gandrud
want to
is
die somewhere else.
Greg Gandrud,
Really, what you want to
he's
do
the
is
CEO.
go die
No.
somewhere else.
No, take a trip over to Greg's office and he'll become your financial advisor. He can tell you how to save up to die. Save up to die is the new California way of doing things, thanks to our liberal progressive Democrat. Salud, Cabajal.
Yeah, well, everything is much more expensive here in California than it is elsewhere in the nation. You know, whether you're talking about gasoline or the cost of housing.
Let's talk about housing.
Housing is extremely expensive in California. You know, I mean,
especially here.
Part of it is related to the fact that this is a very desirable place to live. But another
Well,
thing
it's
that
becoming
makes
less desirable every
housing
minute.
extremely expensive is government regulation. Government levies all sorts of taxes on building housing.
Yeah.
And the regulatory process is insane. You know, most people know that it takes years or perhaps even
can't build a
decades to get
doghouse
approval. Yeah, you
unless
can't get approval. You know, you get caught in litigation, and the materials are more
paint.
expensive, the labor is more expensive.
Right.
You've got to get permits, you've got to go to hearings. It's just absurd what you've got to go through.
And now you have to use union members.
I mean, it literally costs like 7 times more to build an affordable housing unit here than it does in a place like Indiana.
Yeah, because if you use unionized construction companies.
Yeah, I mean, on top of it, if you're talking about a government housing project,
that's what I
then you've got these project labor agreements that dramatically increase the labor
They
component.
just passed this in the city council here in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It just makes it more expensive.
Because you have to, if you hire a painter, according to the union you have to hire a standby painter. Now, what does a standby painter do?
Nothing.
Plays cards all day, drinks, checks his Facebook account, and waits for the real painter to die or to become immobilized. And then that standby painter would actually paint something.
Yeah, well, obviously these government rules are just designed to put money in the pockets of people who are in the pockets of government so that those people then donate to people who are running for political office so that when they get in political office, they will then vote for more largesse. It's a horribly corrupt system.
Yeah, well, Let's talk about Das Williams. How's Das doing these days, in your estimation? I mean, we've already understood that Salud is financially illiterate.
Das has kind of become the king of cannabis here,
the king of cannabis
on the South Coast. Cannabis was supposed to be the godsend, the new green for the South Coast.
Yes,
cannabis
green.
is the new green. We don't want dirty oil. We certainly don't want any oil.
We don't want any oil for our Mercedes-Benz. No, and our Tesla.
No, what we want is cannabis, because cannabis, we're going to have all these revenues, and cannabis cures cancer, and it cures,
make us happy.
Cures everything.
Make us gay and happy and carefree.
Cannabis cures all, and cannabis is going to provide revenues to government,
Yes.
and we won't need
Schools.
oil because we have cannabis, So now Carpinteria reeks of cannabis, and we've got these criminals lurking about who are trying to figure out.
I got stoned just driving.
We actually had people last night in my cul-de-sac roaming about at 4 a.m. We have them on video on our security system, casing the neighborhood, trying to figure out how they're going to get into the backside of these greenhouses. I live adjacent to the greenhouses in Carpinteria, and they're growing cannabis or marijuana dope. Why do you think they call it dope?
Why do you think they
we used to call it dope?
With that,
but now it's cannabis, the new green.
Gregory, we're going to take another break. I have Mark McIntire. This is Voices of Santa Barbara, KZSB. We'll be right back with cannabis. And we're back here at KZSB AM 1290. And my special guest today is Gregory Gandrud. And Gregory has recently been elected as the treasurer for the state Republican Party, the GOP.
California GOP.
California, making a comeback.
We should talk a little bit about what Gavin is doing today.
Gavin who?
Governor Gavin.
Governor Gavin.
He is actually having a May Day event. He is at American River University in Sacramento, and he is hobnobbing with the groundskeepers and the janitors, because Gavin wants to show everybody that he understands the dignity of hard work. Gavin, who's never had a real job in his whole life, is trying to show us that he understands the dignity of hard work.
Yes, indeed. Gavin Newsom, our great governor.
The other funny thing about Gavin is Gavin has announced that he is going to get to the bottom of this recent increase in the price of gasoline. After he's led the charge to raise the gas tax and to make sure that no oil can be extracted or refined or delivered anywhere in California, he has vowed to get to the bottom of why gasoline has gone up in price. This reminds me of O.J. Simpson. Remember O.J. Simpson? He was going to dedicate the rest of his life to find the real killer. Gavin is going to get to the bottom of this price increase.
And you know what he's going to find at the bottom? Gavin.
Gavin's going to find Gavin. Yeah,
he's looking for himself.
Yeah, he's going to roll up his sleeves.
How very existential is
He's going to roll up his sleeves and get to
Maybe he's having
an
existential crisis. He doesn't know who he is. Maybe he's schizophrenic. Because one day he backs the gas tax increase, and the next day he's horrified that the tax increase came. So he's going to investigate to find out who did it.
Well, he thinks it's the evil oil companies. They're behind it.
Happy May Day, by the way. Everybody out there, happy
May Day.
Yes, let's sing a song to Karl Marx or something, okay?
Well, they're singing to Karl in Venezuela right now. And Venezuela is an excellent example of the inevitability of what happens when you go down the socialist road. And, California could be there someday soon. We could be just like Venezuela. Venezuela was one of the richest countries in South America.
Socialism.
Venezuela has oil reserves that Saudi Arabia envies. But they're broke now, totally broke. Yeah. People are starving. The government is running over people in the streets with tanks.
I don't use the dictionary of my enemies, okay? So I don't use the word socialism. You know why? Because it's communism. It's Marxism. All right? That's what it is.
Statism, totalitarianism, authoritarianism, government knows best, big government, more government, higher taxes, more regulations, government programs.
So you know what? Hey, what we should do is the commies here in Santa Barbara, they should go down to City Hall today and petition that there be some type of an official day off from work for city workers, because it's Commie-Day. It's May Day.
Sure.
Wouldn't that be
perfect? Yeah, here in Santa Barbara, that'd be very fitting. Yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't done this yet. I mean, they're all commies. They're all Marxists. So Why haven't they declared a holiday
So
here?
are they at work? Do they actually work at all ever normally?
No, some of them actually have jobs. You can't afford to be a city worker. They don't pay very much.
Will they actually do anything? I mean, what do they do?
They spray the freeway. They spray. That's what happened to you this morning. You get caught in the spraying of the freeway.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because Santa Barbara, they passed this big tax increase that went into effect last April. Now the sales tax is 8.75% in Santa Barbara, rivaled only by Carpinteria, which just went up to 9%. Yeah. So there's all this money, and they're supposed to use it to fix the roads. But what do they do?
I don't use money.
Instead of fixing the roads, they build bulb outs.
Bulb outs,
right?
So you ruin your tires, your suspension. Yeah.
Well, the idea, what they're trying to do is make driving a frustrating experience for motorists. Right? Take away parking, put in bike lanes, put in bulb outs and roundabouts so that you have these traffic impediments and you can't get anywhere. So then you're supposed to say to yourself, you know what? It's too frustrating to drive. Next time I'll take the train.
What's that street up there by the golf course?
Well, Gavin tries to find the real killer.
Well, Gavin is looking for his navel. He's looking for examining his navel. Yeah, I know. They have trees in the middle of streets here. When I first got to Santa Barbara, I said to myself, this is Bumpkinville. I mean, they've got trees in the middle of streets so that people will slow down. They don't want fast driving. Anyway, so I wanted to get
good luck when you got to evacuate in a disaster.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, happy May Day to all of you commies out there. And that's a lot of you folks here in Santa Barbara. I know that much. I want to go over something with you since you're now an elected party official for the GOP. I just got this in the mail, which is a census. I've been specially chosen to. And I want you to answer some of these questions if you will.
Rana, who sent that to you, she's Mitt Romney's niece.
She's Mitt Romney's niece?
Absolutely.
Really? Nepotism is good, isn't
Ronna Romney McDaniel.
Wow, interesting.
She's actually a really bright gal. I like her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the head of the RNC.
Yeah, she's head of the RNC. So she sent me this census concerning the 24th Congressional District, which is Salud.
That's right.
District Salud Carvajal. Yeah. Anyway, it starts off with Section 1, political profile. Do you generally consider yourself? And then it gives me some options. I always check mark other. I am not a conservative Republican. I'm not an independent. I'm not a moderate. I'm not a liberal Republican. I'm certainly not a Democrat. I am other.
Okay.
Because I am a Marxist in this sense. I would never join any party that would accept me as a member.
Okay.
So I'm Groucho Marx, not Karl Marx. That's what Groucho said. So I don't identify with any of these political groups. I'm not a member. I'm going to start my own group, by the way. Okay, which of the following best supports you? A supporter of Donald Trump, but not the Republican Party? A supporter of the Republican Party, but not Donald Trump? A supporter of both Donald Trump and the Republican Party, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's Section 1. I'll just gloss over. I want to get to some of the issues. Okay, we've got 2 minutes in this segment here. Okay, here's one here. Do you believe the national media has a strong bias against all things Donald Trump and Republican?
Gee, you think? Do you suppose?
They're asking a Republican. This is sent to me under the aegis of the fact that they think that I'm a Republican, right? They don't know the difference between me and a Republican.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret, Mark.
What?
Those surveys, what they actually want
is money.
Yeah, they're more
interested
in your money than your opinion, actually.
After Section...
Hopefully your listeners here on the radio are interested in your opinion, but Ronna actually wants your money.
No, Ronna very, very thoughtfully, she encloses, Section 5 is I can fill it out using my credit card. And,
sure, of course you can.
Money, right?
Yeah, but credit card would be very handy. Do you want to give that number out?
No, I'm not going to give it out. I noticed one thing. There's no question here about Israel. Under the Section 4, National Defense, do you support rebuilding our nation's military by expanding our military investment? So I would say yes. What would you say? Would you say yes?
I agree. Okay. I think we should have a very strong military.
Okay. Which of the following do you think would have the most impact on America's foreign policy in the next 5 years? There is actually a question vaguely about Israel. The unstable political situation in the Middle East. So it ticks off Middle East, Korea, nuclear weapons, China, Russia, economic markets around the world, and terrorism. Which do you think of those that I just ticked off rather quickly do you think is the most pressing?
All of the above.
All of the above. That's how I answered. I checked every single box on that.
Absolutely.
Right. And then I put other. And the other was defund public education. That's what I said. Take away all their tax dollars.
Schools are a mess.
Aren't they?
You know, they're just a mess.
Yeah, after the break, I'm going to talk to you about what's happening in Santa Ynez Valley with that poor conservative group of kids that made the.
Free speech is dead in Santa Ynez, according to the school district there.
All the school districts, and we got to get people to run for school boards and we got to support them with money and we got to support them with our resources because the people that are on these school boards, they're Marxists, they're cultural Marxists. Openly.
Yeah, well, we knew that the left had taken over the schools in terms of indoctrination a long time ago, but it's gone beyond that. It's gone now to where the schools actually are intent on punishing certain people and preventing them from succeeding. I mean, they actually will give you lower grades for being Republican. Mm-hmm. They will actually punish you for joining a Republican club or wearing a Donald Trump hat. Mm-hmm. You will be punished. That's what happened in Santa Ynez Valley High School 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, you're talking to somebody who is a graduate of the cultural Marxist school of.
That's right. It's Santa Barbara City College.
Santa Barbara City College, right? Anyway, so let's give you a little more time. So we're going to take our break now. Just want to remind you that this program will be rebroadcast tonight at 8 o'clock and Saturday at 5, and then again on Sunday at 10 a.m., just after you get back from Marxist church. Oh, that's right. The Marxists don't have church, do they? They don't believe in God. Anyway, this is KZSB. I am Mark McIntire. We'll be right back. And thank you to the generous and skillful hands of our engineer, Mr. Richard Dugan. We are back. We are back here on Voices of Santa Barbara. My guest today is Gregory Gandrud, the newly elected treasurer of the state Republican Party. Anyway, we're going to continue our investigation of just for a little bit. I just want to encourage people, if you get one of these censuses in the mail, do fill it out because it's kind of interesting. At least read it because it's kind of interesting to see where the national GOP has their agenda and the state GOP certainly has a state agenda, and how the two either conflict in some cases or.
Well, here in California, our California Republican Party is very focused on the quality of life issues here in California. Mm-hmm. So we support fixing roads and improving our infrastructure. We are addressing the cost of housing here in California. Mm-hmm. We support increasing water storage, making water more plentiful for people. The Democrats want to reduce your use of water. They don't want you to water your lawns. They don't want you to take a shower. We actually encourage people to bathe. We think it's a good thing. The Democrats are focused on, banning plastic straws and gender pronouns and trying to force you onto bicycles and trains. And in the California Republican Party, we actually are mostly small business people that create jobs, and we understand how things work. And we are supporting practical solutions to the problems that face everyday ordinary folks living here in California. Yeah.
Oh, you're right about that. When I first arrived in Santa Barbara, 25 years ago? 25 years ago, I looked it up. There were 48% of the households in Santa Barbara County, that are receiving some type of government check.
Yeah, which is amazing because most people think of Santa Barbara as this enormously wealthy place.
No, it's not. The North County is certainly not
people
wealthy.
Think all of Santa Barbara County is Montecito.
No, I know, they do. But the number has gone up from 48% to 53% in 25 years.
Yeah, well, California overall has become a magnet for welfare recipients. You know, people who prefer to work for a living have been forced out. They've moved to other states that offer jobs and have lower tax rates. Well, we've attracted people who are coming to California. Actually, honestly, they're coming here for benefits.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like covered California. You know, this Obamacare has been a complete disaster. I could tell you a lot of things. As a tax accountant, I could tell you a lot of things about how Obamacare impacts our lives. But they literally take people who are addicts on the street all over the country, and they fly them to California, sign them up for covered California, where people are immediately enrolled and placed into so-called treatment programs, where they spend a few weeks in Huntington Beach or in Montecito at a taxpayer-funded treatment program, and then they graduate a few weeks later, still addicted, and then on the street, and where do they go? But now they're here in California.
Yeah, and if they're illegally in this country, then they register them as Democrats.
Yeah,
if they're illegal, then they walk them over to the DMV, give them a license, and they become
if you're
a
in prison.
Democrat.
Kamala Harris, for example, has made it clear that she supports all prisoners voting. She thinks it's very, very important that people on death row participate and vote for Democrats.
Yeah, because they're strong. They're very strong on law enforcement, the people in prison. They're really strong. They really believe in our laws and our Constitution.
They share our values.
They share our principles and our values of the Constitution. That's why they're in prison. That's why they're there. That's why they're there. Yeah. So Camilla's got a long way to go. It's really funny, the cast of characters, the pack of idiots that are running against Donald Trump. They're going to get wiped out. I mean, there's not one in the pack that I think has a snowball's chance in hell of actually winning against Donald Trump. It's going to be amazing, and I love the fact that the Marxist Democrats they're still unconscious about the fact that Donald Trump is president. What are they going to do when he's reelected?
Yeah.
They're going to go crazy. Yeah, there's going to be mass suicide. They're going to be like Jonestown.
Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, let's talk about our
epidemic.
schools. Let's talk about our schools because, a lot of our tax dollars go to schools. And I really appreciate the fact that you have been one of the leaders to fight back and get people to run for local school boards. Because all of this nonsense that we're talking about cultural Marxism, it all starts in the schools, and it starts with the parents. And I believe that parents, and especially the parents and our school boards, they've taken their eye off the ball. Slowly, the infiltration of Marxism and cultural Marxism, multiculturalism, has infected a cancer into our schools. So I really appreciate the fact that you're trying to drag people out from under their beds in the Republican Party, get them to contribute to nurture candidates for school boards and boards of trustees of city colleges all around the state. There are 123 city colleges around. So I really appreciate the fact that
thank you,
you guys are doing this.
Our schools are so important, and it's so sad to see the enormous amount of money that we're spending in schools and how bad the results are, because we're not teaching kids the skills that they need to succeed in life. We absolutely need to do a better job of teaching the basics, the reading, the writing, the arithmetic, the critical thinking, the logical reasoning ability. But, instead we're teaching white privilege workshops. We're talking about gender studies and ethnic studies. And, kids don't get, you end up with all this debt, right? You go to college, you end up owing $100,000 or whatever with your degree in gender studies or ethnic studies. And it's like, you don't have job skills at that point, right?
Well, you don't have a job.
Debt.
There aren't any jobs for that.
Except
government jobs. There are government jobs for these things. There are government jobs.
And the kids' heads are being filled with a bunch of politically correct nonsense. They're just being taught that plastic straws are destroying the planet. And
anything with a penis is a rapist, right?
Yeah, it's horrible. So parents need to basically exercise more responsibility and get involved in what's going on in their kids' classrooms. Find out what's being taught, get involved, run for school board, show up for school board meetings.
Show up for the meetings. And when the school board Marxists want to spend $30,000 or $100,000 to bring Just Community Santa Barbara or Just Community Central Coast in to actually teach that white people and Christian people and Jewish people, anybody of a religious bent, anybody who believes in Western Christian civilization is evil and needs to be, challenged and needs to be eliminated. They don't say how you're going to be eliminated. They say you need to be eliminated. And people have to realize your tax dollars are being used in schools to undermine your own culture.
That's right. Yeah,
to destroy yourself.
They're teaching that America is a horrible country. Right. That America is a system of oppression, that everything that whites, males, Christians, capitalists, wealthy people do is evil. And
but it's happening all around the country. Today, I read in the paper that the state of Maine, okay, the state of Maine has now gotten rid of Columbus Day, and it's now Indigenous Persons Day. Okay, so no school child will ever learn about Columbus. They'll never learn about that at all. They'll never learn that history because now it's Indigenous Peoples Day, okay? And in the state of Massachusetts, my own home state, right, they have removed from the oath of office, for political office, they have removed the phrase, "So help me God," okay? So taxpayers who would rather look at their stock portfolio and rather have rubber chicken at a luncheon at a country club are taking their eye off the ball. Stop having chicken lunches at country clubs, and stop looking at your stock
and show
portfolio.
up for school board.
And go to a school board and say, "Stop taking my money and ruining my society.
Yeah.
Stop it."
Yeah,
I won't have this.
The public schools have just been destroyed by the far left.
All right, we know we got only one more segment, and this is your legacy segment. It's just going to tell us what you want to accomplish.
Hey, can I mention that we've got an event happening
yes.
this Saturday, May 4th? Fair Education is having an event at 5 p.m. at the Elks Lodge in Goleta, and we would like to invite everybody to attend.
Yes.
If you go to our website at faireducation.org, faireducation.org, all the details are there. You can buy tickets.
May 4th, which is a Saturday, correct?
That's right.
It's a Saturday.
Coming right up.
At the Elks Lodge, and I will be there. You will be there.
I will be there.
We'll all be there.
I would like to meet all of you in person there.
Right, exactly. And Marxists are welcome, aren't they? Yeah, we can.
They're welcome. I will be wearing my bulletproof vest, so I will be safe and secure.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take our last break here. We'll be right back. I am Mark McIntire. You're listening to Voices of Santa Barbara on KZSB. And we're back for our final segment of Voices of Santa Barbara. And my special guest today is the State Republican Party Treasurer. Well, you'll run for chair.
CRP Treasurer. No, thank you.
Anyway, in our last segment, we always talk about the future. We always talk about legacy, because legacy is important. If more of us actually thought about the legacy that we're going to leave behind, none of us live forever. I was listening to the Barron's program before our program came on. He was talking with a lady doing the program, and we were talking about end-of-life issues. And the older we get, the more we realize that we should pay attention not just to our stock portfolio, not just to our golf handicap, not just to our school board, but we should pay attention to our legacy. Why will the world be either a better place or a worse place? Because we lived in it. And so, therefore, I'd like to ask you, what would you like the world to be like? What would you like the State Republican Party to be like? Now, be modest now. Don't go wild. What would you like to happen? Let's say within the next election cycle, what would Gregory Gandrud, treasurer of the State Republican Party, what would you like to see?
Well, I'd really like to see the people of the state of California awaken to the fact that for probably 30 years in this state, the Democrats have had control of everything. And their policies have led us to where we are. And the quality of life is declining in California. The Republican Party would like to turn that around. We would like to make California a golden state once again. And to do that, we need to be electing people at all levels who really embrace the concept of liberty. America is the greatest country in the world because of our individual sovereignty. The idea that we don't have a king, we don't have government exist simply to hand out goodies to people. Government's role in a free society is to protect our freedom. So we need to be electing people at all levels who understand the concept of limited government, personal responsibility, and individual freedom. So any chance that you get, you should support a candidate. You should run for office. If you believe these things, you should run for office. You should support like-minded people.
Let's examine that for a second.
Volunteer your time, donate your money.
Let's examine that for a second. Volunteer your time, donate your money. But let's say Richard Dugan wanted to run for office here. Okay, what would you recommend that Richard? He has no experience in running for office. How do you run for office?
Well, you need to first of all look and see where, in which district you reside. Are you going to run for school board, water board, school, city? You've got to live in the district that you choose to represent. I know people think they might run for city council, but they don't actually live within the city limits. So you need to first of all make sure that you are a qualified voter in the district in which you wish to run. Now, the exception to that is Congress. Congress, you don't actually have to live in the district. That's one of the few exceptions to
and some
to
of
that
them
rule.
don't.
Yeah, some of them don't. But so we need more good people to run. Absolutely. People who believe in freedom.
Yeah, like at Santa Barbara City College, there are 7 districts, and you must live in that district to be elected to the trustees, the Board of Trustees. And I've spoken with many individuals who are just irate about what's happening at Santa Barbara City College, and they are planning to run. These are people who have never run for any type of a school board or any type of a political elected office whatsoever, and they're planning it. So they're getting ready now.
Yeah, people need to start talking and networking. We don't want to have too many people run for one particular office because that will split up the vote and allow the left to get the upper hand.
No, they're sorting that out now. They're sorting that out now.
We need the one best candidate who believes in freedom.
Strong candidate. Getting experience as a volunteer, I would recommend, is a good place to begin. And we're going to have to continue this conversation another time because we're running out of time and the news comes right over top.
Thank
Greg,
you, Mark.
I want to thank you very much for coming in again. And
my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And good luck with all of your responsibilities as a treasurer of the Republican Party in California.
Thank you, Mark.
Anyway, we'll be talking to you later. Thanks very much for listening. This is Mark McIntire signing off for Voices of Santa Barbara. Thank you, Richard.